Another sideways day on Bitcoin, another red day on the altcoins, obviously except for Berachain. And the truth is that if you're sitting here and you're waiting for this proverbial alt season to come, or effectively what you're waiting for is you're waiting for this chart of the others against Bitcoin to turn up. And so we get this 2021 type or 2017 type alt season. You need to think again, because I think the market is starting to realize that this alt season, number one, isn't going to be exactly the same alt season as the previous periods. But also, number two, what I've realized is that we will get some kind of alt season, but the alt season is going to come in quite a while. And the truth is, what you need to do is you need to be able to strap yourself in for quite a long time, all right? And I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm going to show you also what the optimal portfolio to hold to recover the crypto losses that you lost, because I know you lost a lot of money in the last couple of days or in the last month, and I'm going to show you what the ultimate portfolio is to hold for the next couple of months while we're waiting for alt season. I do believe we're going to get some kind of alt season. I just don't think it's going to be the same alt season that everybody else is expecting, and I don't think it's going to come as soon as everybody else is expecting. I see a lot of people on crypto Twitter, and I see a lot of people on YouTube saying alt season will come here in a month, or next week, or there's about to be a bounce. It's not happening. It's going to happen in a few months, and I'm going to show you exactly when it's going to happen, and I'm going to show you exactly what portfolio you should hold to prepare yourself for the type of alt season that we're about to be getting. So, if that sounds good to you, then you need to smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and let's get this show on the road. Another one of these days on the market. Boring, boring, boring. And we're getting a new launch. The new launch is Berachain, and that has sucked out the liquidity of all the other altcoins, because you now have Berachain trading at $14. $14 means it's trading at a $7 billion market cap. So now we're getting a new chain. I do want to talk about this chain. I do want to talk about Berachain, because I do think Berachain is a very, very, very big innovation in crypto. And I do think that this chain actually is going to be successful and actually probably is worth a little bit of hype. I don't know exactly what the right valuation is, but I do think it's a very, very, very good chain and something very, very interesting in terms of a development point of view. But I do want to spend a lot of time talking about this altcoin season that everybody has been talking about, or that everybody has been waiting for. Because I know that what happened is everybody's here, and everybody here got wrecked, because what we did was we all waited for altcoin season, and so we went very, very heavy into the altcoins, waiting for alt season, and the alt season basically conned us, and everyone effectively got flashed out. And so now we're in a situation where the market is exhausted. I spoke about this yesterday, and all the buyers are fully deployed. All the speculators are completely blown up. All the narratives are completely priced in. I mean, you're getting a situation where even when Eric Trump tweets, the markets ain't moving anymore. Every single narrative has been priced in. The Bitcoin flows remain confined to Bitcoin, and we'll talk about that. And the reality is that there is only one thing that can push the market higher, and that's a Fed pivot or some Trump action that's going to increase liquidity into the market. I'm going to talk about when that actually might happen. But until that happens, the truth is that everybody's been wrecked. I don't care where you were. I don't care which narratives you were in. I don't care where you were. I can tell you that most of us were positioned in these pinks or in these dark reds or these light reds. And no matter where you are, you're down between 60 and 80% on your coins. If you're in the meme coins, you've been obliterated. Even pump.fun. Now, I'm not sure if this is 100% true, but only 3 pump.fun tokens deployed in the last 24 hours are above a $1 million market cap. So it kind of looks like even in the trenches, everyone's been absolutely, absolutely obliterated in the trenches. And so this has caused extreme market fatigue. Now, the problem with market fatigue is that when you have market fatigue, when the market is exhausted, there's no more money to push the markets up anymore. If everybody's lost their money over here, or they've lost their money in the trenches, or, I mean, just to give you an idea of how bad this is, if you look at the 60-day rate of change of altcoins versus Bitcoin. So you're looking at the rate of change of altcoins versus Bitcoin. The amount that altcoins have corrected against Bitcoin is violent. The only times that in recent history we can feel a capitulation of altcoins against Bitcoin like the one we felt now are the 2021 crash, the Lunar Terror crash, and then now. Like that's the last 3 times that we've had altcoins capitulate against Bitcoin like that, right? So So that is where the market's at. And the truth is that I know a lot of people are sitting around waiting for alt season because they plan to hold all their tokens until this alt season, which is imminent, right? It's just around the corner. And the reason why people think it's just around the corner is because everybody's comparing this cycle to all the other cycles and saying, look, in January of the post-halving year, that's when Ethereum is supposed to run, and that's when the altcoins are supposed to run. Well, if you're still waiting for that, let me just show you something to maybe give you a little bit of a reality check. So if you look at quarter one for ETH, generally quarter one for ETH is supposed to be the most bullish, 80% returns. So far, quarter one for ETH is on a minus 17% for ETH. So if you're sitting here and you're waiting for this cycle to be exactly the same as every other cycle, I think you're very wrong. And I think that the longer that you leave it, the more your portfolio is going to bleed, and you'll probably bleed out so that you probably will be in a position where you won't be able to claw back your losses. And so today is a very important show because I'm going to show you where you need to put your portfolio, right? This alt season ain't going to be the same. In 2021, there were 3 altcoins. In 2025, there were so many altcoins. In fact, this is what the 2025 bull market looks like. As I said to you, I think there's 36 million tokens. I think people have also now realized that the meme coins have actually done a shitload of damage. Like the meme coins, instead of the money flowing into altcoins, right? Instead of the money flowing into altcoins, the money started flowing into the meme coins, and this did a lot of damage. Also, as I said yesterday, we're dealing with the market issues of the past. And when I say the market issues of the past, I mean we're dealing with the tokens. We created this thing called a token unlock mechanism, which basically kept VCs and investors locked up for a couple of years. And now, unfortunately, the couple of years has come. At the beginning, it was great because it pumped up a whole lot of tokens because there was such a small supply of tokens in the market. But now the time of reckoning has come because now these late unlocks are starting to unlock. And every month, we're getting more and more and more unlocks. And we're expecting at least $74 billion worth of token unlocks in 2025 and $61 billion in 2026. So if you think this market's going to be the same or the cycle's going to be the same, it's not. Someone says, yeah, I made most of my money last cycle by buying and holding stuff for 6 to 12 months. This cycle, that doesn't work anymore. The longest you can hold something has gone from months to weeks. And I'll show you a little chart here that actually gives you an idea. So this is all the narratives, and it just shows you where all the narratives are. That's what I showed you a few seconds ago. And this is RWA today. And what it's trying to show you is that people are jumping from narrative to narrative in the cycle. Also, last cycle, anything that listed on Binance was amazing. This cycle, it seems like anything that listed on Binance is absolutely cursed. Last cycle, cycle went Bitcoin, Ethereum, large cap alts, small cap alts. Why? Because we were all holding Bitcoin. When money came into the market, we saw that as an opportunity to sell our Bitcoin to other buyers and take the money and go down the risk curve or up the risk curve, down the altcoin curve, and we went to ETH. And then when we made enough money on ETH, we went down to large caps. And when we made enough money on the large caps, we went down to the low caps. But the truth is, in this cycle, it's different. Why? Because money flows into Bitcoin. All the crypto people have already migrated to ETH and altcoins and been wrecked. And the game in Bitcoin is actually one of institution to institution. It's literally one Bitcoin buyer selling their Bitcoin to another Bitcoin buyer and taking profits. And there's very few of us left selling our Bitcoin so that we can invest our Bitcoin into ETH and stuff like that. And so actually, Bitcoin has become very much an institutional asset, right? Josh, you know what you should do? You should actually put Bitcoin not on the crypto bubbles, but on the stocks bubbles, because it's like much more an institutional asset. So you should put like Bitcoin on the stocks bubbles, not on the crypto bubbles. You must do that because Bitcoin has become much more of an institutional equity type play, and the altcoins are becoming a crypto type play, right? And that's effectively what's going on. So I think this cycle is going to be different. I don't think that we're going to get this typical market structure. Now, what is this typical market structure? Usually when the market structure tops, the market cap of total 2 usually becomes much bigger than Bitcoin, which effectively is another way of saying that the dominance drops very, very, very quickly. In other words, what this is saying is that if you take the total market cap of Bitcoin and you take the total market cap of Total 2, which is I think 100 or 150 alts that exclude Bitcoin but includes ETH. I think that's what it is. The difference in market cap between it and Bitcoin is very, very, very high, right? And so I don't think we're going to get that because this time money is flowing into Bitcoin and money staying in Bitcoin, right? This cycle is different. Everyone is expecting exactly the same cycle. And what we are seeing is that this cycle is actually very different. Now, the truth is, I do actually believe that the cycle hasn't topped. I think that, as I said the other day, I think there's a very low probability that the cycle's topped. I think that there's a lot more left in the cycle, specifically on Bitcoin. Now, this is a chart and an indicator that shows you a whole lot of top indicators combined, right? So look, this is the indicator. It's called the BTI indicator. You go to TradingView, you click on BTC USD, and you click on indicators, and you go look for BTI, and that will give you this. Now, this is kind of like all the top indicators combined. We've spoken about these individually. It's the MVRV, it's the Pi cycle, it's a whole lot of other things. This shows you that probably the Bitcoin cycle hasn't topped. So when I look at this, I basically look at this and I say, the Bitcoin cycle hasn't topped, okay? However, I don't believe that this Bitcoin cycle top is going to flow into altcoins like it did in the previous cycle. So I think whereas there's probably a lot of I think there's still a long way to go, and I kind of agree with this. Like, it can't be the top of the cycle if ETH hasn't hit another all-time high and all these other top indicators haven't come in. And I also think that MicroStrategy, which by the way rebranded yesterday into Strategy, and I think their site looks amazing, and they've got like an amazing transparency on their website at the moment. I do believe that there's a lot more money that's going to come into Bitcoin. I think a lot of it's going to come from fixed income instruments or money market, because remember there's $6 trillion or $7 trillion in money market instruments. And as soon as the interest rates start coming down, these guys are going to want to earn yield somewhere else. And MicroStrategy's provided them with an amazing opportunity to earn yield, right? So I think between that and between the ETF buying and between everything else, I think Bitcoin actually continues to run, right? But I don't think that the flows of Bitcoin are going to flow into the altcoins. And so we could get a situation where Bitcoin dominance actually does what it did in the past. And that is that if you look at the 2017 cycle and the 2020 cycle, the Bitcoin dominance actually went up to 71% before we actually went down. Now, this is a real scenario. You could get a scenario where the Bitcoin price continues to go up because Bitcoin is an institutional type asset. It's more like a stocks type asset. And you can see today, crypto is down, stocks are up. You can see it on Banter bubbles. Stocks are pretty much up here. Josh, you know what you should do here? You should have a ticker with like the indices so we know whether the Dow Jones is up. So we don't have to go, because now we kind of have to go here and we have to go like NQ to see what the Nasdaq's doing, right? So it's about break even. But you can see the majority of the stocks are actually looking good relative to the majority of the crypto assets. And so I think we're in a scenario where Bitcoin continues to go up, but I think that doesn't go into the altcoins. And I think that the Bitcoin dominance continues to go up. And in that process, it converts everyone into Bitcoin maxis again. And I know this happens. And then I think what's going to happen is we're actually going to get an alt season, but it's not going to be the same type of alt season as we've seen in every other market where everything just basically goes up, right? So what is this alt season? And when is this alt season actually going to come? And what should you do until this alt season comes? That's what I want to address today. So first of all, you have to acknowledge that the altcoin market is absolutely destroyed at the moment. The trenches are destroyed. The altcoin speculative investors who've been waiting for altcoin season are absolutely destroyed. In fact, it's so destroyed that even when the president's son starts tweeting, he can't keep this is the president's son, guys. Can you imagine in the last administration if the president's son, okay, Hunter Biden wouldn't be tweeting because he'd be too busy with other affairs. But if imagine Hunter Biden tweeted about Bitcoin in the not Hunter Biden's got no clout. What about Kamala's kids? She's got that stepchild that looks quite weird. Don't remember. No, I don't remember. Anyway, Google it and do yourself a favor. Google it. So I think the altcoin market is completely wrecked. So much so, the market is so much fatigued that even now, when Trump's 𝗓𝗓𝗓 files an investment vehicle for a Bitcoin Plus ETF and a made in America ETF, whatever the hell that means, that does nothing to the price. This market's got absolute fatigue. And the truth is, what we want to see is this chart break through this line and actually even get to an all-time high. Now, to get from here to an all-time high, the alts need to outperform Bitcoin by 300%. Can you imagine how hard it is to get that kind of alt season, which is the same kind of alt season that we had in 2021? You'd need the altcoins to outperform Bitcoin by 300%, whilst Bitcoin has an ETF and Bitcoin has all this money from fixed income going in. Guys, it ain't going to happen. And that's why the market is completely exhausted. The only thing that I think can actually turn this market is what I said over here. The only thing that can turn this market or push this market higher is some kind of Fed pivot to quantitative easing or some kind of Trump action that actually reduces liquidity. And I said yesterday it could happen sooner than you think. And then, like, within a few minutes, we had a thing from Scott Bessent, and he said, Treasury Secretary Bessent says the Trump administration is focusing on 10-year yields, not the Federal Reserve's short-term interest rate. We'll talk about that in a couple of seconds, right? But effectively, the only way for this market to change is if we get quantitative easing. And you can see it in the charts over here, right? When we get quantitative easing, ETH actually starts running, Bitcoin usually starts running, and the Bitcoin dominance actually starts to drop. The minute we get quantitative tightening, the Bitcoin dominance starts to go up. So for those of you who don't know what this is the Fed's balance sheet. What the Fed does is it increases and decreases its balance sheet. So you can see that when we were in COVID, the Fed put more money into circulation. And the way that it does it is it buys assets on the market and puts the assets on their balance sheet. So imagine that there's a whole lot of, fixed income securities or shares in the market. The Fed buys them, puts it on their balance sheet. Now the Fed's got assets on their balance sheet, but to buy it, it actually puts more money into circulation. And so ultimately, the game of altcoins is a game of Fed liquidity and the Fed balance sheet. When the Fed increases its balance sheet, the money in circulation goes up, and therefore ETH goes up and the Bitcoin dominance goes down. When the Fed tightens its balance sheet, the market goes down. You can see we've been tightening. You can kind of see that we've been tightening from about here, May 2023. When the Fed reduces the balance sheet from about here, you can see that everything turns. ETH basically goes sideways. The Bitcoin dominance goes up. Actually, you can actually see it probably better if you look at this. If you look at the ETH BTC chart, when the Fed's balance sheet is increasing and they're putting more money into circulation, the ETH outperforms Bitcoin. When the Fed is reducing its balance sheet or tightening, Bitcoin outperforms ETH. And so really what we're waiting for now is waiting for quantitative easing to come out of the Fed. The problem is that we're still in quantitative tightening. And what you'll notice between here, here, and here is we tighten, then there is a break and we don't do anything, and then there's easing, and then there is a break and we don't do anything, and then we do tightening. So on that theory, if we're still tightening, then we're still in this part of the cycle. And we want to be in this part of the cycle, right? In fact, this is what happened the last time that nothing happened, right? We're still in the part here where the Fed is tightening. So we're waiting for the Fed to stop tightening, and then we're waiting for the Fed to ease. The problem is that the Fed's got no real reason to start easing it. They don't want to put more money into the economy. They don't want to stimulate the economy even more because they've already got an inflation problem. And so the truth is that even though some people, everybody knows that this thing only ends with QE, right? Even though some people said that the Fed will end quantitative tightening in April or March, right? We're still going to get a period where the Fed is not easing, but not tightening. That is the next part of the period. So if you're expecting alt season to be here next week or next month, think again, because the next Fed meeting is only in March, and then there's one in April. And maybe the Fed will stop tightening in the March one, but maybe they'll continue. And if they do continue, they may stop tightening in April. But then there's that gap in between. And so realistically, if this holds true, the alt season that you're waiting for may take 5 months. It could take 5 months. Look, we may get a surprise. And when I say we may get a surprise, I did say in my tweet yesterday, the only thing that could push this market higher is a Fed pivot or some Trump action that increases liquidity. Now, we had that yesterday. Scott Bessent came out yesterday and he said, the Trump administration is focused on the 10-year treasury yields, not the Fed's Reserve Bank short-term interest rate. Bessent believes that expanding energy supply will bring down inflation that lowers energy prices, which will help the working class. So now they are already talking about the fact that don't look at short-term rates, look at the 10-year yield. And what he's saying is if they can bring down energy prices, if they can say something like, we're going to bring down energy prices or show how energy prices are going to come down tangibly, then the market may preempt the Fed. And as I say, the credit market could lead the Fed. And so if they can somehow get the credit market to believe that they are going to reduce inflation in the long term through some kind of change in energy plan or whatever else, then what will happen is the yield on the 10-year treasury yield will drop, and then the dollar will weaken because nobody's going to want to invest in 10-year treasury yields. That would mirror Trump's first term exactly. So he went into thing, he had the US tariff thing, then there was one more little spike, and then the Dixie started to go completely down. This could be a repeat of that. And I think, and I suspect, and that's why I said yesterday in my tweet, that it could happen much sooner than you think. But if it doesn't happen, you need to strap yourselves in for another 3, 4, 5 months of hell if you're in the altcoins. And so if you're sitting holding on to your trashy little shitcoin and you think that trashy little shitcoin is going to get you to Valhalla just by holding it, I'm telling you guys to think again. I'm telling you guys to reposition your portfolios, to take the losses today, cut your losses, and move the hell on and hold yourself in a defensive portfolio. When I say a defensive portfolio, what I mean is you want to be holding the tokens that can last multiple cycles. You want to be holding much fewer tokens. You don't want to be holding a lot of tokens. And you want to take very focused bets on tokens that are actually winning because the price of all tokens has actually gone down. So I saw this tweet by 𝗕𝗢𝗢𝗢𝗢𝗢. The tweet said, if you pick the right 5 or 10 to hold, you'll wildly outperform the markets. And I think specifically, if you pick the right 5 or 10 tokens, you'll definitely outperform the market, specifically in the next couple of months. And so this is how I'd be positioned for the next couple of months, right? I'd have 10 tokens in my portfolio. These are the tokens that I'd actually have in my portfolio, right? Very simply, I would position myself effectively, very defensively until such time as we believe quantitative easing is going to come and we get this crazy altcoin run. You still want to be in the market. You still want to have exposure to the market, right? But you want to be defensive. You want to be in good tokens that have come down a lot. So really how I'd position myself now is I'd say, look, I want to be in Bitcoin because Bitcoin is Bitcoin and because I think Bitcoin continues to lead this run. I'm not going to be in ETH. I'm going to be in Solana. Why? Because Solana is the winner in the cycle, and you can see that it's catching up to ETH on every single metric. I'm taking one more chance on an L1, which is SUI. I do think SUI's got the most traction, but then I'm also going into Hyperliquid. And I mean, you can say it's a DEX. It's more an L1 than a DEX. I mean, it's an L1 with a DEX. Hyperliquid is the next one that I go into. Then I go into Aerodrome because that's the main exposure that I can get into Base, and I know that Base is going to be around, and I know it's going to win. Then I go into Solana Alpha, I go into Jupiter and Jito because I want to capture Solana trading and I want to capture Solana MEV, right? Then, as I said yesterday, I want to be in real world assets. Now, you can take your pick. You can go with Ondo, you can go with Mantra. I'm going to go with Chainlink for this one because I just think Chainlink could have an ETF. I do think it's the American coin and whatever else. And then I'm going to go into 2 stablecoin narratives. I'm going to go into Curve because that's the DEX where everybody's going to trade stablecoins, and Athena. And this is the portfolio that is going to give you upside. It's not going to make you absolutely rich, but it's going to keep your wealth until quantitative easing starts. Now, if you're not holding this portfolio, then you must worry that if you wait for 5 months, is your portfolio actually going to recover? This portfolio will recover. These are tried and tested coins. They all have revenues. They're all established. I guess you could put an AI play in here. You can decide what AI play you want to put in here. I didn't put specifically an AI play. I'm going to capitalize on 𝗟𝗔𝗓 and Solana because they're both the chains that have AI plays. But that's how I position myself until such time as we get this quantitative easing or something that's going to show us that there's more liquidity in the market. And if you don't, the truth is that you might actually get wrecked. So this is what I'm doing. I'm positioning myself very defensively. I'm going with all my money into a very concentrated basket. These are the more tried and established protocols and tokens. And I'm going to hold this until such time as I think the market's going to run. And when the market starts running, then I'll go a little bit more risk on. Simple as that. I think that if you adopted any other strategy, and the truth is we did adopt the other strategy, the truth is there is a good chance that you'll ended up with a lot of losses like this, right? A lot of losses like this. And I think now you got to make some decisions. You can hold all this stuff. Specifically, you can hold your meme, your 𝗓𝗓, your Melania. I mean, who's holding Melania? Except for Trump. He's the only guy holding Melania, right? Yeah. Okay. So that is the way that I'd position myself. That's how I'd hold the portfolio. Anyway, let's talk about something else now that we've covered that. And let me know what you think of that portfolio. Let me know what your portfolio actually looks like. I do want to talk about this because I think it's important that you guys really understand this Berachain, which is a new launch trading now at a $6 billion fully diluted valuation. It is the token that has a big share of mindshare. It's a very highly anticipated launch. Full disclosure, I'm invested in this launch from a cycle ago because I was so excited about this launch one cycle ago. I'm very excited about it now. So this is the token. It's called Berachain. It's trading at $12. The fully diluted valuation of Berachain is, as you can see here, about $6.5 billion. Let me explain to you what Berachain actually is. So the first thing is Berachain is a proof of stake blockchain. It's an L1 proof of stake blockchain that is built using the Cosmos technology stack or the Cosmos SDK. And so effectively what it is, it's an EVM compatible blockchain that is ultra fast, and it's built using Cosmos, the Cosmos SDK. The innovation around Berachain actually comes not from its consensus layer or from the way that it validates transactions, as it comes from the economic rewards or the mechanism for economic rewards on Berachain. Berachain has a very unique design where it incentivizes the stakers to support the dApps in the ecosystem, to support liquidity in the ecosystem. And so they call this the proof of liquidity mechanism. And I found this great explanation online, and you should actually subscribe to it. It's called I Explain Crypto. He really explains complicated processes actually very well. And I couldn't do a better job than him, although I do think my accent is better than his accent, but that you can decide.
Liquidity system. Most blockchains use a consensus mechanism called proof of stake, under which you lock up your tokens to help secure the network and earn rewards. You can think of proof of stake as a savings account. On the other hand, with proof of liquidity, users are rewarded for providing liquidity to trading pools or lending platforms, which essentially means putting their coins to work in the network's apps and services. It's like if your bank gave you extra rewards, not just for keeping money in your account, but for using it to help other customers get loans or make investments.
So instead of rewarding people for securing the network, it rewards people for providing liquidity for the apps on the network. Okay, so think about this. Like if you were to talk about this in Ethereum language, instead of rewarding the network for the validators for securing the network, you would reward the people that put money into Uniswap pools. That's like how you could do it. And so that's why they call it proof of liquidity. Now, the reason why I was so excited about how Berachain works is because unlike every other blockchain, which rewards the validators of the blocks, and by the way, you do get rewards for validating the blocks here. This one actually rewards the support of the tokens. And that for me is a real, what's the word? Like it's an innovation in the economic modeling of blockchains to incentivize holders of the governance token or validators to support actual protocols, right? And that's why I like this thing so much. It's called proof of liquidity. And I wanted to show you, they have a 3-token system, and I think he explains the 3-token system very well as well. So there's 3 tokens. There's Bera, BGT, and Honey. So listen to this.
It's unique 3-token system. First, there is Bera. This is the main token used to pay gas fees on the network, like the gas for your car. The total supply of Bera isn't fixed, and it can change based on the network activity and governance decisions. Then there is BGT, or Berachain Governance Token. This is a special, non-transferable token you earn by providing liquidity and participating in the network. The more you use Berachain's apps and provide liquidity, the more BGT you can earn. BGT is used for governance and boosting validator rewards. You can burn BGT to get Bera, but not the other way around, which helps control the supply of both tokens. Lastly, there is Honey. Honey is Berachain's native stablecoin pegged to the US dollar. It's used throughout the ecosystem as a stable way to exchange value. Here's how it all works together. You stake Bera to become a validator, earn BGT by providing liquidity, and use Honey for stable transactions.
So you see they've got 3 tokens. One is Bera. Bera is the gas fee token. BGT is the governance token. And then you use Honey, which is the stablecoin, the stablecoin token. So that is the economic, that is why I like Berachain so much, because they're innovating with the economics of the chain, and they've managed to create like a very cult-like community, and specifically cults are rallying around different apps in the Berachain ecosystem. So you got HoneySwap, you got BeraSwap, you've got a whole lot of apps in the ecosystem. And what you're forcing people to do is to become very passionate about actual apps in the ecosystem as opposed to the ecosystem itself. So it's almost like a chain which is built for the apps, not the other way around. Where it's a chain that supports its apps. Basically, it's like a government that supports the businesses in the country, as opposed to the other way around. If that gives you guys some kind of thing. Now, am I telling you to buy Berachain today? No, I'm not telling you to buy Berachain today. Remember, there's an airdrop, and we know what happens with these airdrops. The price is going to go up, and it's going to go down as people dump their airdrops, specifically in this market. But I am telling you to keep your eyes on Berachain, because I do think that this is one of the first innovations that I've seen in blockchain for a long time. And I think it's super important that you guys put this thing on your radar and actually keep looking at it. I think also in the next couple of days, we'll also look at 𝗓𝗡, because there's the AO computer launch, which is happening on the 8th. So 8th it's where the Ondo Summit starts. So on Saturday, the Ondo Summit starts, and 𝗓𝗡 is actually going to launch the AO computer, which is, I think it brings a whole new paradigm in computing, because when they launch the AO computer, we're going to be able to do hyper-parallelized transactions, which means we're going to have very fast transaction speeds in blockchain. And I'll break it down for you all tomorrow. And I think that's going to open up like the world for like a complete decentralized web. And you'll see when I break it down for you. And I think that there's going to be this narrative around a completely decentralized web. Now, that narrative is of a completely decentralized web is one that has actually existed for a long time. The first company that I remember that came out, the first protocol that I remember that was talking about this decentralized web narrative was actually a token called Elastos. I don't know if you guys have ever seen this token. So it's a platform or a protocol that was launched in 2017 or 2018. I mean, let's see how far this chart actually goes. I mean, you can see here the chart goes back to let me just show it to you guys. You can see it here. So the chart goes back to 2018, but I think this project was actually launched before. Launched by a guy called 𝗏𝗏. He was a very smart guy. Now, when I was thinking about this decentralized web narrative, I actually checked in on Elastos, and I saw this, And what I realized is that this project is not only alive and well and kicking, but funny enough, when I was looking today, I realized that they raised $20 million to build a native Bitcoin DeFi protocol. It says another project looking to turn Bitcoin into a more fruitful base for DeFi has raised $20 million in funding towards that goal. Elastos, a decentralized infrastructure provider, aims to scale its Bitcoin DeFi protocol. So they're launching a separate Bitcoin DeFi protocol. And I think that that's going to kick off two narratives. One is the decentralized web narrative. And the other one is we've got another protocol which is launching. It's called Babylon Chain. And Babylon Chain is going to bring this whole DeFi on Bitcoin, this staking your Bitcoin or using your Bitcoin for DeFi narrative. And I think it's going to bring that narrative. And I think around March is when the Babylon mainnet actually launches. And I think that when that happens, we're going to get a massive run in these things if we get some kind of fire back in the altcoins. But we'll keep you updated. In the meantime, you may want to go and check out Elastos. It is one of our sponsors, or one of our previous sponsors, actually. It is one of our previous sponsors, a project looking to turn Bitcoin into a more fruitful base. I think that's going to be a big narrative. But go and check it out because it's a project that has survived since 2018. Anyway, I think that's me for today. I'll see you guys again tomorrow. I've got Henrik on tomorrow. We're doing a Friday banter. I really want him to help me decode what the hell's going on. So I'll see you guys again tomorrow. Until then, trade well, my friends.